I would like to take this opportunity to welcome everybody here to Kansas. Unfortunately, I'm sorry I can't be with you this year. I've got some personal issues back home in the UK that I have to address. However, Ulysses, who's our assistant GM, will make sure that he presents my technical report for me. Let's start by last year. Last year we talked about there was a lot of endeavours that we needed to push forward as a league. If we were going to remain competitive with some of our competitor leagues that are out there, if we were going to set ourselves apart from them, there were various endeavours that we as a league had to pursue. Some of those were, let's look to attract higher level players into our league, create a professional standard on and off the field for our teams and our players, and as coaches, provide those players the best opportunity to get the best possible coaching. From the performance of the teams at the national finals this year, I think we achieved at least 2 out of those 3 points. It was great watching the 3 or 4 teams that played in the games in the finals, to the extent where those games would have been good at any level, where it was any of the professional levels in the US. But let's talk about 1 or 2 or 3 of the points that we talked about last year. Sustainability, success in your market, and success on the field. Made a big deal about those points last year, and there was a reason for that. These were the 3 main points, you remember, that I addressed last year regarding your teams, and by the growth of our league, sustainability came in at number 1, which was our main objective. If you're around from last year and you're continuing to play this year, it's been a successful year. You've been successful. Success in your market obviously has led to being sustainable as a business. Now, most of us have got different agendas, but some of us actually do this as a business, and none of us are here to lose money, and I'm sympathetic towards that, or at least sensitive to that. But success on the field doesn't directly relate to directing dollars through the door. So these were the 3 points, if you remember, that we addressed. And by the growth of the league, which has been absolutely tremendous, I think we're close to about 60 odd teams on the last count, we actually reached that. Some of the other things we talked about last year, which was at best points for discussion, was could we potentially have a league that could host professional teams, or teams that wanted to play as professional teams in our current structure. We said we'd go away for a year and think about that. Over the course of the next several months, I actually developed a list of minimum professional standards, which I presented to everyone by emailed them out. And for those teams who understand the benefits of having professional prior to their name, as in professional soccer here in Atlantic City, they know that they can generate a lot more money through the gate, as well as sponsorships at the gate, which is one of the ways that will help us sustain our success on and off the field for years to come. We checked in with the NCAA rules. We're able to do that. We will not be able to play players currently playing in the college structure, because if you have players that are professional, then obviously that's going to affect their professional eligibility. However, playing against those teams doesn't have that effect. So it's definitely something we need to revisit. I don't expect that decision to be made today, but I do think it's a point of discussion, and I think we should be taking a consensus of, are we going to move forward? If so, we should look for some of the teams to do it. If they want to do it this year, they should be provisionally sanctioned. And if none of the teams want to move forward and want to move forward towards next season, I think we should be given the opportunity to do that. I think one of the other things we talked about last year was developing our overseas relationships. Well, I was quite a way down the line when I talked to you guys with the JPLC, which is the Jamaican Premier League clubs, and I went over there twice, which those trips weren't funded by the league. And then I went over twice on my own again, but this time I took a delegation, and we actually hosted over there, or presented over there, an international symposium with Mr. Edward Ziega, the former Prime Minister of Jamaica and the current Chairman of Jamaica. We were incredibly well received. The weekend was a huge success. press, TV, everything did fantastic for us. Did we get anything out of it? No. And the bottom line is we didn't, because we dropped the ball. When I say we've dropped the ball, we haven't followed up due to the lack of feedback I got from you guys. And because of what was going on with the league, we didn't know if there were certain things we could do or could not do or would want to do. So this is something we definitely need to revisit. The opportunity there to have an affiliation with the league and the benefits to both parties involved, being it an international league affiliating with our league, only strengthens us as a league. It would create opportunities for players to move in both directions, and it would also give us an opportunity to create a little bit of flavour between those teams. So the opportunity is there, and actually later in the year Mr. Siega flew up and took several of us to the Jamaica-US game. But the people that went down there was Barry Gorman from Dallas FC, Jeff Lahote from LFC, who is a consultant for both MLS, WPS and a lot of international clubs in Europe. Took down Michael Wheeler, who's a FIFA and a sports attorney, agent, and Heather McKenzie, who's an immigration attorney who actually attended our meeting last year. We gave a presentation, several presentations on everything from moving players through the professional markets and into the US, through developing youth modules to developing an infrastructure for their national youth team programs and for their professional teams. And then we spent, both Barry Gorman and I spent a day on the field with their national teams, working with them and taking them through a series of different tactical sessions. So the doors are wide open there. We have to wait on feedback from you guys. Is this a path we want to go down? Like I said, this was not funded by the league, so we never used any league dollars, and none of your dollars were used in doing that. And it's important that you know that was an investment that I felt was necessary. It needed to be made for the benefit of the league. Now, let's get to our flagship event. Last year, the NPSL Finals, which again was hosted by Rocket City in Alabama, was brilliant. You know, they put on a good show. I wouldn't say necessarily it was as good as the year before. The year before, Andy did a marvellous job, but still, he put on a great event. And from taking care of the players and the teams from entering into their community to leaving their community, Andy was a fantastic host. Good thing about that is we had a number of scouts again attend, and we actually invited Mike Wheeler, who's you'll see a little quote from him later on in the presentation. That Mike Wheeler flew down and spent a few days with the team, travelling with us, getting to know the players, watching some of the games, watched us actually play against the Silverbacks, and was somewhat impressed that, well, I won't want to steal the thunder. You can see from his quote what he did and what he thought of our players. But this is definitely something that's beneficial. We're really in a good position here to highlight our players. Couple of things that disappointed me. The selection process. It is obviously flawed, and communication coming back from various owners and coaches throughout the league, that's flawed. At times you guys don't respond to any emails, not unless it directly relates to what you're doing then and there. We're trying to run a league, so communication is key. It's circular and it's not linear. So communication backwards and forth is a good thing for us to have. To the extent that when I asked for for recommendations, some of the teams declined, which was great. Matt, we're not interested, we can't afford to do it this year for whatever reason, or we don't have a player that we think is good enough to play at the next level. I can respect that, and that was a great excuse. But some of the teams didn't even respond. Some of the teams sent me 6 players. You don't have 6 all-stars on your team. Not even a team that won the final. You know, you're looking at maybe 1 or 2 from each team, and even at that, you're talking maybe only 1. And then obviously, you're looking at, and I hate to bring this up, but there was players there. If that's the best in the league, we're in bad shape. But the thing is, they were there. And the players that were there did a good enough job off the field as well as on the field to represent their clubs. Arguably, they weren't the best players from the clubs. I would say 4 or 5 of them probably deserved to be all-stars, and the rest of them were good players, and they were great guys, and they were hard-working ambassadors for themselves, for their teams, and for the league. Tremendous from that approach. But if we're going to take ourselves to the next level, and if we're going to separate ourselves from our competitor leagues, activities and events like the All-Star Games are important. It gives these kids an opportunity to be showcased, and it is one of the few things that does put us on par with MLS. MLS has an All-Star Game. The NASL doesn't, the USL doesn't, but we do. And if we can get players identified and signed and moved on to the next level because of an event like that, where we have all the players coming into one location at one time and can be trained and put through their steps, it gives the scouts an opportunity to look at the best of the best. And that's what I'm asking. So anyway, appreciate your time. I know it was a lot of information. Ulysses, and don't shoot the messenger with Ulysses. He will take you through the rest of the report. Actually, I think Jim Antonakis is going to be here, and you should listen to what his thoughts were, because I think he was the only team owner who attended the Final Fours who wasn't either a part of the executive committee or had an agenda or was a team owner. He was somebody who came because he had a player selected and he wanted to see what we were all about. So, getting to know what he thought of it, especially the new teams coming in, it would be good to listen. And I'm not telling him to say that we were this, that and the other. You need to get feedback. We documented some of that. We actually have good video of the Jamaican trip, but the league has that, and at some stage they've took that down from the website or from YouTube or whatever, so we're finding it hard to put our hands on that. But everything that we did this year has been well documented. So have a great season. When I get back in a few weeks from the UK, if you want me to follow up and send out to you the provisional standards, I'm more than happy to do so. Once you've seen the presentation, won't take more than 10-15 minutes. You're more than welcome to make comments, and as a coach, I'm someone who definitely works on constructive criticism. But if you're going to sit there and bash, which some of you have a tendency to do, those sort of comments will obviously go in one ear and out the other. So let's keep it constructive, let's keep it on track, and let's put the league on top where it deserves to be. Have a great season, and I look forward to seeing you guys sometime during the year.